Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gents, at whatever time that you're listening to this, to episode 16 of Divine F.M, where I'm going to be talking about breaking the cycle and regulating your emotions. This week, I was really inspired to talk about this because I've just had a week of very high highs and very low lows, but I say that in a positive way, as in, like, the lows were not that low because I was able to, regulate the low in my best ability. And I feel like I did a pretty good job, and my highs were very high, but I also was able to, like, regulate myself whenever I started to feel low after those high moments. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about that, have a little conversation. And I also just wanted to talk about this event that I went to this past weekend and how amazing it was, and just how, honestly, I don't know if, like, life changing is, like, too crazy of a word to say, but, like, it really put a lot of things in perspective for me and also helped inspire this episode too. So I'm gonna put the timestamp in the description if you don't want to listen to this little story time, I guess, of my event that I just went to. It was like a night market, and I went as a vendor for my business, Darcy Treasures. I sell, like, soy wax candles. I make it all homemade, and jewelry, and, like, I want to do other little trinkets. I have lots of ideas I have yet to put forward, just because I don't do markets that often, and so it just takes a lot of, like, time and money to invest into something that, like, if you're not getting, like, consistent income from it, it just doesn't seem like worth to budget that in. But I did this night market this past Saturday, and my very good friend Brandy hosted it. We have been friends since no, I'm pretty sure middle school, high school, past our college days, and now we're just, like, two full-time adults. Like, I hadn't seen her in so long, and oh my gosh, I saw so many people that I also was friends with in, like, middle school and high school that were, like, kind of in the same group of people, and it was so crazy and fun and amazing to see them and connect with them. Like, no time had passed at all. But yeah, so I went as a vendor, and I got there pretty early because I wanted to just, like, hang out and, like, chat and, like, catch up with Brandy. And I feel like, the best spot, literally, at the place because I was there early, but that wasn't even my intention. But, like, I feel so lucky because I was right next to where people were walking in. And so I feel like most people walked right up to my booth right after they paid to get in. And so I made such good sales. I have never had such a good sale ever doing this. And I have had my business for 5 years now. Like, I literally sold out of all of my candles. Like, I am still flabbergasted that that happened. And, like, usually I'll sell, like, maybe 3 candles at most, maybe 4, like, if it's a good day. But no, I literally sold them all before it was even, like, close to the end of the market, and I was so shook. And I also sold a bunch of pairs of earrings too. So, oh, and I was reading tarot. I read, I think, 5 people's tarot, which was insane to me. And I hope to the other people. I really hope they enjoyed it. Like, I had really, really good feedback, and I had not read tarot for other people besides my friend Heather, like, a couple of weeks ago, in a very, very long time, if not ever. Like, I think maybe I've done it at a market one other time, like in 2021, and I maybe did it once. But it's just always so refreshing and inspiring to me whenever I do things like that, because, like, that part of my spiritual practice is not, like, a big one, but it's something that I do often enough for me to feel like it's important and very meaningful to me, because I love to connect with, like, God and my spirit guides, and, like, my intuition as well, because that's a lot of what tarot is just, like, kind of feeling what the cards are telling you and telling that person or telling yourself, whoever is, like, you're reading. And literally always, at least if you're, like, genuinely reading the tarot and, like, interpreting it with your intuition, and I guess based also on what the cards are telling you and stuff, like, it always is, like, accurate, because, like, that's how tarot works. Whether or not you believe in that, you don't have to agree with me. But yeah, it's just always so crazy to me whenever I do those things, because it, like, really just makes me feel fulfilled and that I'm actually doing what is right for me and inspires me, and things that I'm good at, and things that make other people so happy and inspires them as well. So it just makes me want to continue doing what I'm doing. And it was just such a good time. And not only did I meet so many friends, I'm pretty sure I had like 11 or 12 people freaking follow me on Instagram. Like people that I like connected with and either like traded Instagrams or like phone numbers with them. Like I have not socialized like that. I can't even remember if I've ever socialized so much ever with people who are like in my exact demographic. And like I don't know why I've never put myself in those positions. I guess because it was really it was pretty scary. I didn't know how many people were going to show up, but quite a lot of people showed up. I'm pretty sure, at least by the looks of it, at least 50, 60, maybe more people were there, because there were also live bands playing. And oh my god, all of the bands were so amazing too. I'll have to put all of the bands in the description if I can. I will text Brandy and ask, because that is important. I want to shout them out because they were all so amazing. And all the vendors were so cool, and everything that they were selling was so cool. I wish I could have gone around and like shopped more, but obviously since I was a vendor, I couldn't. But yeah, it was just such an amazing experience, and I feel so happy still. Like the dopamine is still rushing through my veins, and it's 2 days later. So I would say that was a really good time, and it was really good for me and my business as well. So I had freaking forgot my business cards, unfortunately, so I couldn't I couldn't really market it in that way, which is so sad. I don't even want to think about it, honestly, because that was a L. But it's okay, you know. I still like had a lot of people follow me on Instagram, and like that's another way of marketing. So that's a W. Oh my god, do you hear the rain? It just started raining. All right, let's get into the episode. So this week I'm going to be talking about regulating your emotions. And I feel like this is something that really stems from, like, your childhood. And not just that, but, like, how you were nurtured, how you nurtured yourself. Like, whether or not you had siblings, like, close group of friends. A lot of those things, like, coincide with how you are able to regulate your emotions. Because a lot of it comes from, like, how much validation you received from people around you growing up, you know? And so I feel like something that I've been doing, and not like recently, but for quite a few years throughout my like healing journey, my spiritual journey or whatever, is going back to all of my memories from my past that I feel like I would quote unquote say were like traumatizing, or like were just big events for me that like I feel impacted me in a negative way, and I carry with me still to this day. And it could have been things that happened to you like in school, when you're in elementary school, or like even something before then, like something that like your parents told you maybe. And like we have to remember also, this is a point I was going to make later on, but I guess I'll just say it now, like remembering that our parents are also like living this life for the first time, and like learning to forgive them, and learning to like forgive the people in our like younger years that like possibly hurt us, or like told us things that like invalidated a part of us that we no longer feel, you know, is important enough or worthy enough to embody, even though you feel like it's something that inspires you or makes you happy or whatever. Like we have to learn to forgive those people in order to let ourselves walk into the version of ourselves that we actually want to be, you know? Like if we can't understand people from like the same level as we understand ourselves, then it's kind of impossible to feel like anything is fair, you know? And so whenever like big events happen that are like quote unquote traumatizing, or like impact you, like whether it's good or bad, you know, it's just like in a big way that it like hits you deep in your soul. Try to like take deep breaths, and always like think back to all the things that are important to you, that you're grateful for, that you're happy for in your like present day life. Like always, I say quote unquote zoom out and lock in. Take a shot every time I say quote unquote. I don't know why I keep saying that, but I had written this sticky note sometime today because I wanted to talk about it. I had thought the quote zoom out and lock in whenever I'm feeling like really heavy or feeling stressed out or overwhelmed or whatever. Zoom out as in like just try to get present, you know, get out of your head and get into your eyeballs, get into your brain, and into what exactly you're doing in this moment. You know, look at the time, look at like 5 things that are around you, and that'll really help like bring you back and lock in that second part after you can do that. Like, whenever I said look around at 5 things around you, I mean that as in like, I work at an office, for example, so this is easy for me because there's lots of things to look at. But whenever you're feeling overwhelmed and you're like all up in your head, I choose 5 things that are like in the room around me, just randomly. The first thing my eyes like gravitate to, and I take at least a minute, maybe longer, for my eyes to like really zoom in and narrow on that object and just think like, I don't know, I don't really think any thoughts about it, but I'm just like looking at the stapler, or I'm looking at the sticky notes, or I'm looking at the folder or whatever, and then I look at a new thing, and it just like helps direct your attention to one thing and one thing only. And if you can do that for a lot of minutes at a time, over time it'll get easier to even forget like what you were thinking about, and those anxious feelings and those overwhelmed feelings will start to diminish in your body. I've done this countless times, and I would recommend trying it. It really does work. But yeah, going back to the whole like forgiving your parents thing and forgiving like people in your younger years thing, I just want to talk a little bit more about that. I feel like a lot of, like I said in the beginning, a lot of the causes of our unregulated emotions are from our younger years, are like nurturing, the years that we were nurtured, and like how much we were validated from like our parents and our peers or our siblings or friends or whatever. And so I read in this book that I got a couple of weeks ago called The Highly Sensitive Person, or A Highly Sensitive Person. And it talks about how if you were left alone more, like if you're more hyper independent and you have abandonment issues perhaps, or like trust issues because you really only trust yourself and rely on yourself, that is something that you can very easily stem from like your childhood, and just like how did your parents' schedules work, you know, like maybe one worked in the morning, one worked in the afternoon, and they had to switch, and like maybe you had siblings, maybe you didn't, and maybe you spent more time alone than, you know, someone else did, and that affects your regulation of your emotions, because if you're not getting a certain level of validation from your peers, from your parents, from your friends, you have to get it from yourself. And so then you know, want to seek it outwardly, and you don't trust people's outward validation because you don't even know how to receive it. And so I feel like once we can go back to those moments and realize that's why we feel that way, then it kind of just clicks, like, oh wait, but that was like so long ago, you know, like it was so long ago. It really doesn't matter how they feel, and they probably don't even feel that way about me anymore, you know. Like, people are growing and changing and evolving mentally, like not always at the same pace, but every single day. So like no one's going to be the same as they were the day before, you know, a couple weeks before, a couple months before, years before, etc. And so I feel like putting things in perspective like that makes it a lot easier to be forgiving towards those people, places, events, or whatever that like caused us that pain, caused us that like bitterness and resentment, and like the invalidation of a part of us that we no longer, you know, let ourselves feel or like show others. Like for like tarot, for example, I still feel this way a little bit because I feel like tarot reading is very taboo, and I am like outwardly spiritual and I show that part of myself, but I also believe in God, and I was raised a Christian, and I still believe in God, and I still feel his presence. I still pray like a lot of nights. Sometimes I forget because I'm like too tired, but I'm sorry, God. It just happens. But I also feel connected to my spirit guides, and I feel connected to God in a way that like maybe other people who don't consider themselves in this spiritual realm, but more in like the Christian or Catholic realm, like they just like connect with their God differently, and like it's all the same God, so I feel like it doesn't matter that much to me. But I just get scared to like talk about tarot because, you know, some people think it's like demonic, or they'll like call me a witch, and you know, they burned witches at the stake. So I don't really like being called a witch in that manner, because I'm not like casting spells and doing shit like that. Like, and also no hate to women who do consider themselves witches and do cast spells and stuff, because like that's a whole realm of spirituality that I choose not to tap into, because I just don't think it's meant for me and my purpose here. But like some people, they do it for good. Some people do it for bad. But like that's up to them and their choice. And I don't do that. But yeah, that's something that like I've had to really work on, like being comfortable, showing people that I read tarot and like reading tarot for myself and practicing it and like validating myself that I actually can do this and I am like actually connecting with like my spirit guides and like it only feels real whenever I start to do it for other people and like they're like so mesmerized by like how accurate it is and like I can like connect with their energy so easily and it feels so wholesome and nice. And the more that I do that, the more comfortable it makes me in my spirituality. The more comfortable it makes me reading tarot around others and not being like, ashamed internally about it. So pick and choose those things that like for you may feel like bother you, have like traumatized you, have made you feel like invalidated or shut down, but that you do really want to show the world or that you do really want to embody or you want to start, practicing or you want to start doing in your life. Anything. It could truly be anything. We all grew up differently and had different sets of parents, different sets of siblings. Some of us didn't have siblings at all. And, we all just have to take everything with a grain of salt, wake up every day with a smile, and know that everyone's trying their best. You're trying your best, and everyone else around you is as well. Even if it doesn't look like they are, in their current state of mind, I truly like to believe that everyone is trying their best. So, take that with what you will. But that is my little tad bit of advice for regulating your emotions. I hope I did an okay job. I feel like I went on a lot of tangents, but yeah, I hope you guys have a great week. And go Eagles! Woo! And I'll see you next week on Divine FM.